WrestleMania 27 is often considered as one of the worst WrestleManias of all time. From a main event that didn't exactly light the crowd on fire to matches involving Snooki from Jersey Shore and Michael Cole in spandex, it's easy to see why this event became infamous. Just one day after taking place, this show was called the grandest disappointment of them all by Bleacher Report and was being compared to shows like WrestleMania 9 and WrestleMania 11. And when you look at this event, I think most fans can agree, this was not a good show. After 10 plus years of classics, this was something that a whole generation of fans, including myself, had never really seen before. A truly bad WrestleMania. What is interesting about this show was, unlike all the other bad manias prior to this, such as 9, such as 11, those shows took place when the wrestling business wasn't doing the best, so it wasn't really breaking news when WrestleMania 11, a show that did horrible on pay-per-view, wasn't exactly the best show. Nobody wanted to see it for a reason. But WrestleMania 27 was different. This show had a lot of hype going into it. Rating the Stars was a banger, promotion for this show was everywhere, The Rock was finally back and hosting Mania, and the roster had a great balance of new stars and legends, and regardless of how their card looked on paper, this show was hyped up and the money they made backs it up. The show was sold out a month in advance and they had to add more tickets. 71,000 people ended up attending the show, and on pay-per-view they did crazy numbers. And to put into perspective, WrestleMania 27 sold more pay-per-views than WrestleMania 17. So even though this show was infamous, it's not fair to say that this show was doomed from the start. Because as surprising as it might be, this was an event that the people wanted and the people were down for. Which raises the question, what the hell happened? Well, I decided to go back to 2011 and 13 years later finally revisit WrestleMania 27 to find out. So live from the Georgia Dome, it was WrestleMania, and instantly what annoys me about this show is just how promising it looked for the first hour. The show begins and the energy is off the charts, the stadium looks amazing, the pyro was going off, Carrie Hilson sang a song for America, and the show started off the best way it could have. The Rock coming out of WrestleMania for the first time since 2004 as the host of the night. The people wanted to see The Rock, they paid to see The Rock, and that's who they got. And despite the man running out of breath from just talking and needing a water break mid-promo, everyone ate it up and it started the show off on such a high note. And the opening match of the night just continued the momentum. For the first time ever, a world title match was opening WrestleMania. And as surprising as this was back in 2011, it wasn't a bad idea. People were so amped for this show and The Rock just got even more hyped. They needed to start off with something exciting, and what better way than a world title match. Del Rio came out, and at that very moment with that Rolls Royce and that awesome video in the background, the 2011 Rumble winner looked like a star in the making. Turns out the only star in the making for him was a 5-star wanted level. Edge made his entrance as a world champ, and for the opening contest of what is considered one of the worst WrestleManias of all time, they definitely held it down. They had a great little match that was quick, it was easy, it was to the point, and it allowed their crowd to stay hot for the whole match. They were behind everything Edge did and never went quiet, so when Edge hit the spear and got the 1, 2, 3, they exploded and everyone was clearly having a blast. The good guys got the win, they made the bad guy cry by destroying his Rolls Royce, everyone loved it, no complaints, the show goes on. Second match of the night was Rey Mysterio as Captain America against disfigured Cody Rhodes, which was once again a nice solid match. Cody got the win by cheating, they wanted the youngster to go over and he did. Once again, no complaints, so far so good. And just like that, an hour had passed and the show was definitely living up to the hype. A great fun promo to open it up, 2 solid matches, crowd was loving it. But this was where the show just slowly lost its identity and developed into the most cringe thing you have ever seen. For some reason, and that reason being Vince McMahon's idea of what comedy is, this Mania had a lot of stupid ass backstage segments. And these would end up being some long skits, 4 to 5 minutes at a time. One skit was so bad that it's not even on the network version of the show anymore, and with The Rock as a host of Mania, he was involved with all of them. From backstage talent shows with Khali singing, cause that's comedy apparently, to Mae Young assaulting The Rock, to Pee Wee Herman and Mean Gene dressed up as Cena. The Rock, who's once upon a time the coolest guy on the roster, was now doing cheesy skits, interacting with the idiots, taking part in the stupidest comedy you can imagine. And the issue was, he wasn't roasting anyone like he used to back in his prime. He was just kinda just standing there and just like, hey, I'm The Rock, and just smiling and just chilling. And yo, it just got weird because this WrestleMania turned into a Monday Night Raw real quick. The next match of the night that I swear to God, this should have taken place on Saturday Morning Slam. It was an 8-man tag match featuring the likes of Kofi Kingston, The Big Show, Kane, and etc. Obviously, it didn't mean anything, but you know, it still had some talent, whatever. Maybe it could be fun. Guys, it ended up lasting 1 minute and 36 seconds. What the hell was this? My first time lasted longer than this. Bruv, the entrances were longer than the match. The entrances took 5 minutes, the match was a minute. Why even bother at that point? And mind you, the stupidest part about this is, the guys who got clapped, the idiots who got clapped at 1 minute and 36 seconds, they were all champions going into this match. Yo, what kind of WrestleMania match was this? If a match involving 8 wrestlers can only be 1 minute long, maybe it shouldn't be taking place. But whatever, it was fine. The show overall so far had been good, can't complain. We'll just pretend that the last 20 minutes never happened, and on to the next match. And thankfully, it was CM Punk versus Randy Orton. Two legends, two icons at WrestleMania. This had a chance to be the match of the night. This had a chance to be special. And I'm not gonna lie to you, when they made their entrances and the match was starting, I was amped, I was excited, I was ready. And this was a great match. Pre-pipe bomb CM Punk doing whatever he could to get noticed. Randy in his physical prime. They put on a solid match. Now the thing is, it was a slow match for the most part, but almost every Randy match is, we know that. But towards the end, they picked up and they were getting close to reaching that special match status. Finishers were getting reversed, Randy tried doing the punt, the crowd was coming alive, people were invested, the wrestlers were getting into the zone, and then boom, an RKO out of nowhere at WrestleMania, everyone jumped out of their seat, 1, 2, 3, Randy got the win, and a really good match with an amazing ending. Definitely match of the night so far, and it really made me forget about the 20 minutes of whatever we had before this. Almost a 4-star match in my opinion, really solid. However, what really sticks out to this match to me is the fact that they were so close to reaching that next level that I was talking about, and then it ended out of nowhere, which I get, that is the point of an RKO out of nowhere, but this match was only 14 minutes long and they really just started tweaking, and to me it's like, this is WrestleMania, what are we doing here? You gotta let these guys tweak, you gotta give them some time, you gotta let them put on a show. But instead the match ended up going a little short, now reaching its epic status, and then you start to notice, okay, so this match was under 15 minutes, Ray versus Cody was under 15 minutes, as it should be, but so was the world title match, and then we also had a match that was just a minute long. What are they saving these minutes for? How about the worst WrestleMania match of all time? Oh my god, I don't even know how to talk about this. This company in 2011 was embarrassing at times. This company in 2011 just really loved to make a mockery of itself and the wrestling business. From the skits with the cringiest comedy you've ever seen to this, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Michael Cole versus Jerry the King Lawler. Listen, it's never a good idea when one of your featured WrestleMania matches is your 62-year-old commentator, who by the way is a year away from having a heart attack, take on your other commentator who looks like this. But what this company did with these two, yo, they broke records of buffoonery. This was the moment where I think everyone realized that Vince has no idea what he's doing anymore. Michael Cole had just become this absolutely annoying, disgusting heel commentator who everyone and their mom despised, and before you knew it, he found himself in a feud with his color commentator, Jerry Lawler. And this is the thing. This feud was pretty fire going into Mania. Cole had been such a clown that everyone was excited to see Lawler beat him up, and everyone wanted to see Stone Cold as a referee hit some stunners, and people were down for that quick, fun WrestleMania moment, so nobody was against it. But then it happened, and this match, if you could call it that, took 33 minutes of WrestleMania airtime. What the hell were these idiots thinking? 33 minutes of these bozos for 33 minutes. I have never heard a crowd so dead, so bored, so disgusted, just waiting for something to end. Bro, it doesn't make any sense. What was supposed to be a simple, Lawler gets clapped for a few minutes, comes back, destroys Cole, embarrasses him, Stone Cold stuns him, Stone Cold stuns my mom, Stone Cold stuns everyone goes home happy, turns into this shit. Michael Cole was trying to do moves on Jerry Lawler, Jerry Lawler was just laying there selling for minutes and minutes on end while this man tried doing this. What are we doing here, guys? Yo, this was horrible, and the worst part is reliving this all over again. I forgot how bad this was. I thought it was like, what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Rewatching this, it just makes me wonder, how did we remain wrestling fans after this? And yo, the worst part was when Lawler began to beat up Cole, even though Cole was giving up and they were throwing in the towel, even though it had already been 15 minutes of this, they prolonged it. They had Stone Cold pretend like he didn't notice so they could extend the match even more, because for some reason the people in the back thought we wanted to see this. When the match was finally over, instead of just calling it a day and haha, that was fun, okay, on to the next one, they then spent 10 minutes having Booker T do the spinneroonie in the ring for some reason and then get stunned, and then just to make this feel like even more of a waste, they had the anonymous Raw general manager announce that technically Cole won by disqualification because Austin touched him. And you would think that would be the end, right? I mean, it had been 27 minutes of this and you already did the plot twist of having Cole win. Nah, this godforsaken thing was never gonna end. They then had Josh Matthews get stunned. Meanwhile, Michael Cole, the guy who everyone wanted to see get clapped, who everyone wanted to see get stunned, never got stunned. He won the match, and Jerry Lawler just takes the L. He literally just takes the L, owns it, and proceeds to go sit at the announce table and call the rest of the pay-per-view like nothing happened. Bro, what? 33 minutes. 33 minutes, it just wouldn't end. It felt like I was watching the Lord of the Rings Director's Edition, but at least that's a good movie. Guys, 33 minutes, that's longer than a standard episode of The Simpsons or Family Guy. This was disturbing, and this alone just makes the entire show look like a clown show. Why was this longer than 10 minutes? They took minutes off a world title match, off Randy versus Punk for this? And just to make things even worse, Daniel Bryan was supposed to take on Sheamus on this show too, but that was cut to the pre-show just for this. I can't. I need a break. Nope. Well, 2 hours had passed and it went from, oh, this is promising to, I don't want to live anymore. And just to make this show even more bipolar, it was then time for an all-time classic Mania match. Because while the other matches might get less time due to Cole versus Lawler, you know damn well Triple H ain't letting that happen to his match. It was Triple H versus The Undertaker. Taker was 18-0 going into this match, and when I tell you this was a true main event of this Mania, it was the true main event of this Mania. They went all out for this. 70% of the Mania budget was probably spent on this match. Johnny Cash for Undertaker's entrance, Metallica for Triple H's entrance, no DQ, anything goes, and as cringy as it might sound, this was cinema. These two went out there and killed each other for the industry. This match was so physical, so epic, and ended up being 10 times better than anyone thought it would be. There was a lot of pressure for this. Can it live up to Shawn Michaels versus Triple H? Can it be another classic streak match? And listen, you had Taker almost killing himself with the dive again. What more do you want? To the insane spinebuster on the table, this match was legendary and it felt so epic. From the entrances to the aura of the streak to just how savage these two were, it felt like two cowboys back in the 1800s on some Red Dead Redemption vibes, just laying it all out there. Yo, when Undertaker took 3 pedigrees to the dome and then got tombstoned and still kicked out, my soul genuinely left my body, and 13 years later, it still does. And the ending, what can I say, it doesn't get better than this. Undertaker, who was on death's door after getting destroyed, legit pulls out the last stand perk for Modern Warfare 2 and catches Triple H lacking in the Hell's Gate, and inches away from getting clapped by the sledgehammer, is able to clutch out the win and leave the crowd speechless. No doubt to this day, one of the best Mania matches of all time. Low-key underrated. 1, because it was on this show, and 2, because everyone just talks about the Shawn Michaels matches and everyone talks about end of an era. But this right here, this is top tier, and I can't lie, just because of how brutal this is and how savage it was, I might like this one more than end of an era. Classic in every sense of the word. And boys and girls, that's the duality of this Mania. In a matter of an hour, you go from the lowest of the lows, and I mean low, shout out to Flo Rida, to the highest of highs. Just when you thought you were out, they pull you back in and you have hope. You know, you start getting a little delusional, you're like, yo, this is a pretty fire Mania. That was a classic match. We had some solid matches, you know, not that bad. But then you realize it's time for a Jersey Shore match. Yo, once again, this company was just so delusional, so gone off the edge, it doesn't make any sense. After all of those skits, after 33 minutes of Cole versus Lawler, after sacrificing so many matches on the night, it's time for a match because Snooki was down to wrestle. John Morrison, Snooki, I don't care. You know what's so sad about this? I know how big Jersey Shore was back in 2010, 2011. I was in middle school back then, and every girl I knew watched Jersey Shore. They loved Jersey Shore. They prayed to Jersey Shore. Every Friday, all I heard was, oh my god, last night, JWoww did this, Mike the Situation did that. But take this in, how many girls do you think in my class that all watch Jersey Shore knew or cared that Snooki was wrestling at WrestleMania? None. Zero. Literally zero. I don't even think DJ Pauly D cared Snooki was wrestling. People who like Jersey Shore, they wanted to see Snooki in the club slapping girls and getting arrested, not doing a handspring attack in the corner to Michelle McCool, which hey, was impressive, but yo, there is only so much we can take. And another 15 minutes was spent sitting there having to watch this. What started off as such a promising show that even had a classic match just became a drag. And it was then time for the main event, the most sacred match in wrestling history, the main event of WrestleMania, and the destiny of this show was all up to the main event. If they could clutch it, if they could pull off a banger, the last match of the night, this Mania could be salvaged and life would go on perfectly. Sadly, the main event was The Miz versus John Cena. Ladies and gentlemen, this main event is just tragic on so many levels. The main event of WrestleMania was a straight up afterthought, and if any show, if any Mania needed a fire main event, it was this one. But nah, instead we got a match between two people who have zero history, zero heat, and a match created to do an angle for next year's show. And first of all, I just feel bad for The Miz. The Miz going into WrestleMania was a solid champion. He did his thing, he did everything he could to be taken seriously, and when he walked out on that stage, he looked like a star. But it was clear, he just didn't belong in my opinion. The lights were too bright, and just the situation they had him in, it just was not gonna help him whatsoever. They made him the third wheel in his own main event. Most casual fans who bought this probably didn't even know that Miz was in the main event. They just got the show to see the Rock and Cena drama, which is fine, but then maybe have this match as the semi-main event. It was one of those situations where on paper it didn't look too bad, but when the main event actually was about to start, you're just sitting there like, Okay. And then you had John Cena, who also didn't really look like himself during the match. He looked like he rather would have been anywhere else. He just didn't look too interested, and the fans were just sitting there bored out of their minds, waiting for The Rock to come out to make things interesting. And it's like, what kind of WrestleMania main event is this? They turned the most sacred match in wrestling into a Raw main event, and the crowd just sat there depressed, wondering why they were there, why was this closing the show, and just when things couldn't get any worse, they did. In the main event of WrestleMania, they decided to do a double countout. That itself is pretty stupid. And the universe rewarded them for that stupid decision, because when Cena absolutely crushed The Miz over the barricade for the countout finish, Miz, the poor guy, hit his head on the concrete and got a concussion in the biggest match of the year and the biggest match of his life. And if the crowd wasn't dead already, well, now they had to sit there and watch these two get counted out. Bro, in a matter of a year, we went from Shawn versus Taker to this? The match ends in a countout. Of course, The Rock comes out to save the day, yells at a computer, restarts the match, attacks Cena, Miz wins, Miz stands tall, wait, no, until The Rock proceeds to clap him as well. And WrestleMania 27 ends with a champion concussed and looking like a bozo, an afterthought in his own main event, The Rock standing tall, all this to build next year's main event that was 365 days away. Why? Why this way? Everything that was done here did not need to be done like this, and that's the crazy part. Everyone who bought the show knew the pay-per-view was going to end with some shenanigans setting up Cena versus Rock next year. The fans weren't stupid, yet they still had an ending that left everyone disappointed. How do you do that? And not to mention, they made the last 40 minutes of WrestleMania just boring. This was tragic. The match had no aura, nobody cared. They tried their best with having a Nas intro and a DMX intro, but that wasn't gonna save this. Miz got concussed, a double countout, a match restart, a stupid laptop being involved in the main event, and just overall boring. So once again I ask, why? Why this way? Why have the Miz in this position? Why not have someone else in there so at least the fans can be a little more excited about the match and be more into it? I don't know. But if it had to be the Miz, which is fine, like I don't really have a problem with it, why do a double count out and why make everyone hate what they're watching even more? Is a simple interference not good enough? And honestly, why have this as the main event? A match like this should barely main event a SummerSlam, let alone a Mania, and I understand that, yeah, they wanted to do this to build for next year's Mania, Rock versus Cena, once in a lifetime, but listen, that match was going to do insane business regardless of what they did here. There was no need to go this crazy and sacrifice the whole main event of another WrestleMania for that main event. It just ends the show in such a bad way, and I'm gonna be honest, if they really wanted to do this, they should have just had Triple H and Undertaker main event over this. That match felt like the real main event. That was the match that people cared for. That match had the aura, not this one. That match was special. This wasn't really even a match. This was a segment and a poorly done one. This would have been 10 times more better if it was a semi-main event. I don't think anyone would have complained if this didn't close the show, because at least you have something exciting to look forward after that, and you know, a good match to end the show on a positive note. Nothing is more depressing than a boring WrestleMania main event. And that's where the show falls apart. They prioritize segments and stupid angles and stupid matches over what would have made this a good show. For 10 years, we had gotten banger after banger WrestleMania. We grew up watching shows where it was like the wrestling that carried it. It was the moments, it was the spectacles that really made us love WrestleMania. And now we got slapped with this. It was a total opposite of what anyone wanted. A 4-hour show where 2 hours were straight garbage and where the actual good stuff other than Triple H and Taker was just sent to the side. So how bad was WrestleMania 27? Real bad, man. This was real bad. 4 hours of this will have you more confused than you trying to learn Chinese. But this is the thing. It's still hard to say that this is the worst WrestleMania of all time. I don't think I can call a show that had 3 solid matches plus a classic the worst Mania, but I get the reputation it has, and if you feel this is the worst, I totally understand, because what sucks is there was no reason for this show to be that bad, and I think that's why it hurts. That's why it's looked at as badly as it is, because they had no reason to be this bad. Everyone wanted to watch this show. It had crazy ticket sales, crazy buys on pay-per-view. The fans were excited. They had everything right in front of them to deliver something memorable, and they literally lost their minds. It's still one of the worst, but I wouldn't say the worst. But I easily think it's the most disappointing Mania of all time. Easily. I went 13 years without watching this, and I never want to watch this ever again. I can't. In the comments down below, let me know, what do you think of this WrestleMania? What are your memories of this show? What do you remember watching it? For me, I remember watching this and same thing. I was so excited for the first hour. I was having a great time, but as it went on, it just got so bad, so depressing. And even the next day at school, I don't remember anyone talking about this. It was just one of those things where let's just pretend this never happened. Dark times, dark times, but hey, they definitely made up with it with WrestleMania 28. But yeah, in the comments down below, let me know your memories, what you remember from this, the good times, the bad times, and hey, maybe there's some crazies out there that love this show and they think it's underrated, which hey, I kind of get it, but just try watching it again. On the surface, when you just look at the card, it still looks kind of decent, but just try watching this for 4 hours. Your opinion's gonna change. Anyway, it's your boy Pav, aka Wrestling Gifts. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys soon with more content coming soon. Till then, though, take it easy. Later, guys.